Ohayo gozaimasu. Hello everyone. Just as an ad starts, I gotta sort out these ads to make sure it stops doing this. Maybe I could move the timer so before we even start the stream that it could just like show a short one and be done with it. Anyway, how are we all doing? Am I on camera? Today we are going to be working a little bit on the color separation for the samurai print. I will be going to see the original on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Thursday? The 11th. Anyway, the morning of the 11th, I'm going to the British Museum. I'm going to go to the back room and have a look at this print. And I just want to solidify some questions. Like, if I want to do some of the color separation now as much as I can in the next couple of days. I'm not doing it really carefully. I'm just sort of blocking colors in. It's not the final thing. I will come back and touch up, especially the colors that have lots of patterns in them. I've done some of them roughly, but I'll come back and like flick the layers on and off and see where it's different. I'm gonna have to take some better pictures, and yeah, I just want to get a little bit of a better understanding of the colors before I see the original print, so I know what questions I need to ask, like, is this color actually on this board or is it on a different one? And a lot of them I'll be able to see much more clearly in person. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Striped Sweater, Quilter, Spiegel, Zabus, Poisoned Person, good morning. Citrong, Snowy, Flyfish, everyone, welcome in. Let's switch over to this view. This is just the key block and the black block. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do the black block yet. Should I show you what? I have rearranged some of the registration on the black block because it seems that there's actually quite a few little registration issues. It seems it took a little bit of time. Obviously this is before the era that they used the freezer system that Dave uses for keeping his prints like constant moisture level. There was obviously some shrinking and swelling from the key block to a lot of the colours. And the black would have been one of the last ones, so we're seeing a lot of misalignment. Well, I say a lot, it's a little bit, but sorry, music. It's a little bit of misalignment, and it's not just like taking the whole black block and moving it across. There's moving each section in tandem. The areas that are, if I use a different layer, I can show you this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sorry, give me a second to hide all these layers. And I'll use a red pen. So the section down over here will actually be a lot better registered than sections over here. The registration marks will go down in the corner over here, so the paper doesn't have much chance to shrink or swell so much down in these areas. But up here I had to move things quite a bit. So if I get rid of them. This is how we're looking so far. If the volume is a little bit low, I can crank it up. Although it seems okay on my thing. Anyway, yeah, I've been working on some of the colours. I had to get sort of moving on this week, so I haven't, since Tuesday, I've been kind of finalising things, fixing the black, going over the key block a little bit. There's lots to talk about. I started with the yellow. I've got basically all that blocked in. And then there's like this pink colour. And then a red. I haven't finished this. There's a lot of patterning in the red. It's essentially the pink. They're actually lining up in the same areas. It's just there's a lot of areas that are cut out on this red one. And you can see I've done it roughly over here. But these areas like this, this is where the paste has actually been stuck in these kind of skinny grooves. And so it's not really easy to see how all these lines are actually. So I'm going to have to get really close up photos taken of these so I can draw these patterns a little bit better. Like I said, I'm just roughing everything in now so I know what questions to ask when I get there. So we've got that. And what's interesting as well, actually, it must have been an extremely expensive production. There is, for a typical ukiyo-e, there's not much layering. But on this one, there is really, it's quite complex layering. I was really surprised. Looking at the print, it's a luxurious print. But I was surprised at the amount of layering. There's some areas where there's 4 colours layered, and they're using a single block to make lots of different tones as well, which is something you don't often see in ukiyo-e as well. What else have we got? We got this purpley brown. There's also multiples of each colour. Like you might expect in a typical ukiyo-e for there to be a single brown. But in a lot of these areas, if I remove this, so there's this colour brown here. If I take a blank layer. So there's this colour brown here. And then there's also this colour brown. There's also this sort of purpley brown here. And you can see some of the browns are interacting. There's this brown here, this brown here. This is a different brown to this brown. And then we've also got that orangey brown that's down below. And you can see here, these are both on white. So these areas were here where we're looking at colours that are only on the white are quite helpful. Hang on a second. Capture might be frozen. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no. Give me 1 second. This might crash the stream, you know. Okay, are we okay? Let me go through the chat. I should have checked it a little bit earlier. Is the image is supposed to be updating as you're doing this? We only see the key lines, not what you're demonstrating. Okay. And it's also quite squished, is it? The image is looking squished. No, I think it's okay. Really sorry about that. That's not a great start. What I was saying is that with the misregistration, a lot of the colors that are down to this corner here and here. So with the black, we're looking at this area and this area. They're misregistered a lot less than the areas that are on the far side over here and over here. This is the area where we'll see the most misregistration in this print. And this is the area where we'll see the least misregistration, because that's how they're shrinking and growing differently. The stuff closest to the registration is the most stable, which is why often when we make portraits, or if there's a face in a print, this one's kind of centralized. We don't need to do it on this print. But when there is really lots of detail and tight registration on a large print like an Orban. Let's say we had a... Let's make this bigger so you can see it easier. Let's say we had a face up here. And there's lots of really tight registration. There's loads of colours in here, and maybe there's lots of detail. And then the bottom is just like a flat colour. We would actually reverse the registration. We'd put the registration, it's called Atamakento. We put it down over here. Well, it'd be on this side. We'd put it over here. So the detailed stuff would be closest to the registration marks. It's not something we have to do very often, but it's a neat trick if you're making your own prints and there's lots of details centralized at the top of the print. You can flip the registration and print it upside down. The key block is so detailed. Yeah, it's going to take some time. The kanji took, in terms of like actual carving, it's not that bad. The kanji is not that small, but it took an awful long time to trace the kanji. So we're just going to be blocking in. I'm going to stop explaining. We can explain some stuff as we go along, but I've got a yellow block all organized. I've got a pink block. If I show this layer. So yellow, pink. Let's get the black back in there. Red. This is the detailed stuff I was talking about. I'm going to have to use the photos. I'm going to have to use the photographs I take later to get the details in these stuff, because they're really quite tricky to see over here and like this area here. There's actually lots of detail inside, but I could only make out those two lines. So I'll have to come back later and retouch up all these stuff. What I was saying about here's an example of how the layering is quite complex in these. For these types of flowers, on a typical ukiyo-e print, this would be a single block. You just have the red, and maybe you do a bit of itabokashi if you wanted to fade them out. But in this area, they both match up. Perhaps the pink is a little bit subtracted. I might put a little bit of itabokashi on it, but we don't often see this type of layering on simple things where it's just like, it really doesn't need to have 2 blocks here. But because most of the reds in this print have 2 blocks to give it more depth and body, they've maintained that across even on all these little petals. And the same is true of the green as well. If I show you the image, so all these leaves, the minty ones is like an undertone that goes under all the leaves, and then the darker green is printed on top of that minty to give it a bit more body and depth. Will the kanji be on a separate block? No, I'll do it on a single block. So let's get rid of that. We've got one brown, which is doing the branches, and it's doing the patterns on the feet here. So this is one of the browns, doing the patterns on the feet, and a bit on the legs there. And then there's a second brown, you can see the difference in them. There's a second sort of like purpley hued brown here, which is going to be on the handle, and a few other areas. And there's lots of these little dots on and around the armor, where they're using all these different browns. It looks almost like 3 browns, but I think it's just 2. There's a yellow, there's a light grey blue, a blue, a purpley brown, a sort of more earthy brown. Lots and lots of colours. So yeah, it was not a cheap production at all. So which one should I start with? We could do the skin. We could do the skin today. The skin is also creating the second shadow pieces on this headpiece. So we could do that, or we could carry on with the first brown patterning on the gloves. In fact, let's do that because I'd like to finish that one first. Let's get rid of that. We're going to work on the hand. This is not going to be perfect now. Not happy with that. Anyway, a lot of faff up front. How are we doing? It's Friday morning. This is the last stream before I leave. I leave on... Also, is the music quite loud? Can you hear the music? I think perhaps you can't hear the music. What music? Yeah, I can hear it in my earphone, but it's not coming through. Do I try and relink that? Desktop. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? I think I'm live, but it takes a little time to freshen up. No panic. Yes, music. As soon as I try and change any setting on this, like if I try and re-establish, I'm surprised it didn't go down when I did the. I'm surprised it didn't go down when I did the iPad when it was frozen. If I just try and re-establish a connection, turn something off, and then put it back on, it crashes every time. I don't know what's going on. If anyone's got any more experience with OBS, I don't know why it keeps doing this. Technology really bothers me, you know. I just wish everything just worked the way it's supposed to. I really didn't do anything wrong there. Why doesn't it just work? Sorry about that. Would rather have a stream without music than no stream at all. We're back. We're back. We figured it out. Are you serious? The music's gone? Well, I'm not touching it again. And the capture doesn't seem to be moving. Oh god, what's going on? Okay. I really sometimes dislike technology. Everything's the same as normal, but it just doesn't like me this morning. I don't think there is a typhoon in at the moment, but basically it's just a bit of heavy rain. I don't think that's affecting. Seems to be a problem with OBS or my computer, but the computer's kind of new. Yeah, I'm not going to try and touch the music again. I'm going to leave it as is. If you want the music, you can go to the Discord, go to Spotify, play it in the background yourself. Yeah, you can play the music of your choice on your desktop. No music, but at least I have you loaded and basically Microsoft. Yeah, I'm using Mac. You can sing for us again. I don't think so. Which colours haven't I done? We've got light grey, blue, mint green background. You can see I'm being a bit rough with this. I'm not going through and like flicking the screen on and off to check that I've nailed everything properly. I will be coming in for a second pass on all of this, so I just want to block things in. I thought the stereotype was all Welsh are good singers. That is the stereotype, yeah. You've heard me sing. It's not my forte. Although I did do, when I was younger, I did a lot of acting. Although I wasn't, I enjoy singing, but I'm really not very good at singing. But I did play, our school did a Welsh performance of Grease. So it was basically Grease, but everything was translated, songs and all. And I was Danny Zuko in that. We had a proper car in our school as well, like a car that had its engine taken out. And so there was like a few people got in the back. You know that scene where they're watching the movie at the drive-through theatre? We rolled a little crappy little car onto the stage, and I pretend to get my hand caught in the door after making advances on this poor girl. Apparently I was a good actor because people often thought that I had actually just like gone a little too far and actually trapped my finger. I did a lot of plays when I was younger, you know. I was Joseph in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was Danny Zuko. Who else was I? I did a few plays. Drama queen. I have a lot of hobbies. I've always had a lot of hobbies. When I was younger, because I have this thing where I can remember lyrics and like voices. I remember voices really, really well. I think I told you before about like remembering lyrics. But like it was also with movies. I used to just like recite movies and stuff. Um and I guess that's part of the reason I used to do that a lot. I wanted to be an actor for a while when I was younger. Voices in Darren's head. Because my hobbies are like so varied, like I was never like one of those kids that you just like look at and go, oh, he's the drama kid, or he's the rocker kid. Like I was never in a like a subculture type thing. What's going on there? That seems like a mistake, doesn't it? Have you been to Ireland? I've only been to Ireland once, and that was last year. I live just across, like, North Wales. It's just a ferry ride away to Dublin. I went for the first time with my partner last year when we went to the UK. Was it last year? I think it was. It's a big thing as well because Irish music is like really a big thing in our family. No one likes Christmas songs. So Christmas is all about Irish music. We grew up like singing along to all these Irish songs. So we went there and we were like, we know every song that played in every bar. It was good fun. More than Welsh folk songs, it's Irish songs I sing at home. So probably need binoculars to watch. Is it a little too zoomed in, too zoomed out? Are we frozen again? No way. Hmm. It was frozen on my desktop there. I think perhaps the typhoon is causing a little bit of stream issues today. I loved old movies as a kid. Fortunately, living in an area, we had so many stations, antennas that could only afford to pay for the old stuff. So I got Marx Brothers, W.C. Fields, Lauren and Hardy, etc. Cool. Have you watched any? I haven't seen a lot of like the Western classics, but I really got into because I liked samurai as a kid. I really got into Akira Kurosawa. I was put onto him by my friend's a real movie buff, and he often recommended me like lots of older movies. And I had it as a tradition for a while to watch like an Akira Kurosawa movie at like Christmas time. Or make people I know suffer watching through. Don't tell them it's like a black and white movie, and then or in subtitles, like sitting down. Let's watch this tonight. It's supposed to be really, really good. I think it's frozen again. I think it's okay. What I'll do is every now and again I'll just do a quick zoom like that to make sure that we're on. I can make this a bit brighter. Maybe you can see the progress easier then. I got to remember as well that I can't get the whole image in. Then the black hole is done a few days ago. The black hole? Ah, no. I haven't really worked on it. I worked on it a bit on Monday. They're all cleared. They just need some ice work. I guess 3, 4. I've done a few of them. They're just here waiting. Which other ones have I done? So 1, 2, 3. 3 are already cleared in total. But because there's no actual deadline on this work is much more important. I'll do that when I get back. You can see here where I fixed the black. This is the... Well, I actually kept a copy of the original. No, that one's moved. None that. But you can see it's not... The black is no longer lined up correctly. I've adjusted it. There is an interesting bit on the black. Maybe I could show you that now. This knee, it looks like the pattern hasn't been finished. And it looks like it's been accidentally cut away. And they decided not to fix it. And if you look on other copies, if I get rid of those, you see the black there on top of the key block. Other copies have replicated this, so I think I'll do the same. But I'm almost certain that's a mistake. That wasn't intended by the artist. Trying to watch the progress on Twitch here is tough for me. Watching Dave do this for years, the colour differences where the tracing has been done do not show well, probably because of my colour blindness. Well, I guess it's also because I'm tracing in red and I've got the opacity quite low. For me, I want to still... I basically don't want to be able to see the red very well. Ideally, this is too bright for me. I'd have it down somewhere like this so I can still mostly see the pattern and see if I'm hitting it better. It's a little bit... it's easier to see if I crank this right up, but I don't get as... Well, I can't tell how accurate I've been. Like if I go over, it just covers it completely. And so shaving back with the eraser becomes a bit tricky. But if I cranked it up, I'm sure it'd be much more viewer friendly. I don't think this is ideal content for Twitch. I think it's actually quite boring, but this is the work I have to do. I only have a couple of days to get this done. I'll have to do some packing this weekend. Get all the camera stuff. I've arranged the actual meeting. I'll be meeting her for the interview on... Her meaning Capucine Sam from the British Museum. I'll be meeting her on the day I land, actually. So we get in at like 6 a.m. on Wednesday. We don't get to check into the hotel until 2. And then at 4 o'clock, I'll be doing the interview with her. So it's a really hectic first day. And I probably won't get any sleep on the plane. And he's probably not going to be very happy on the plane. He being my son. Just say people's names. So I'm not sure how the interview is actually going to go. I'm going on Tuesday night. So Tuesday night, just after 12. I think it's 14-hour flight. Ooh. Accidentally switched slates. Like right now, well, before you change the opacity, it shows on my screen well. Also, my Wi-Fi fish camp is right, you're at your fish camp. How's that going? It's pretty cool that you got Wi-Fi in your little mobile. Nothing looks good in 160p. Let me just finish this hand. I won't make you suffer through watching me do the second one. We'll try and find some thinking. We'll get you guys involved in deciding which colours these are. There's a couple of question mark colours here. There is a question up in the air now about how much to fix. How much can I try and fix? Like that area down at the bottom that I'm pretty sure is a mistake. I could fix that, but I think that'd be a step too far. And it's always a big thing with these reproductions. It's how far you can sort of push it, how far you can fix things without degrading or subtracting from the original or diverting too much away from it. It's a real thing, you know, there's a real split in the sort of community about how far to fix. It was a big talking point for the Hogseye Reborn series. And I'm almost certain what Capucine San's response will be to how far to fix, and it'll probably be don't fix. We'll ask her, that'll be a curious one to find out. The black for me is a no-brainer because that's not an issue of the blocks carved, that's an issue of the blocks printed. So obviously that has to be fixed. And if you're not fixing things like that, that's how, a craft gets bastardized and it becomes less impressive over time and the skills seem to be reducing. It's because you're making copies of copies of copies, and each time you're copying mistakes that were made previously, and then you're also inevitably adding your own mistakes. So obviously the level of the product goes down, down, down over time. So I think you do have an obligation to fix some things. The key to doing any fixing, I think, is you do it sparingly. Don't try and change too much at once. I think it's a good message for life as well. When you're like trying to sort something out, you want to change one thing at a time, small changes, so you're not moving house and getting married or buying a car all at the same time. You want to pace yourself. And it's really easy to get carried away. As soon as you start fixing one mistake, then all of a sudden you see another mistake. You need to think about each of them on their own individually. This is not direct from Kuniyoshi's brush. There's literally an interpretation of a previous carver. Yeah, that's true. But when you're trying to interpret what his brush was, like this carver has done this, like I guess that this was Kuniyoshi's original interpretation of this, like that is really risky because you can go really left field. And obviously no one will ever know. We don't have the ability to see what he actually meant. All we can do is interpretation, but there are some things that are like, that's a given, that's easy to sort of deduce. But there's other ones where if there's a question, it really could go to one of two ways, unless it's in a really obvious place. I think I tend to leave it at that point. Like if I'm not sure, it could be 50-50, and by changing it, you're going to make a big impact one way or the other. I think at those points, you've got to be really careful about making the decision. Okay, we've done that hand. There's another hand, but that's actually kind of boring work. I will just fill these in quickly now, though. I'll come back to these later. I hit the line there for a second. Yeah. Open. Brush, come on. No. Right, the rest I'll just do it quickly. Okay, I'll come back to that later. Let's see what you guys are saying. Spiegel's comment, where was that? Chicken Mice is replying to Spiegel, but I can't actually see Spiegel's. Did we ever get the kanji translation? I did. I did do it. I've got it saved somewhere. I don't know where to find it, you know. I do have it saved somewhere. It's basically just talking about who he is. Let's save that. I'll get it next time. We can do the full translation. I can paste them into the chat. But I did get it translated, yeah. I've got it translated. I got it in the old kanji, the new like modern interpretation of those old kanji, and I've got it in English. It's sort of like a little. Well, it's an obituary. It talks a little bit about his life. Has anyone in Japan published Hokusai's letters? I understand many of them were saved and less reported on in subsequent generations. Yeah, there are lots of books. Most of them are in Japanese. There's not many. I don't know of a translation actually of his letters. I know there is a book of his letters in Japanese. Yeah, for sure. Put off the marriage and get a car. How many copies will you make at first printing? It depends on the printer. The Mokuankan printers, they don't do many Orban, and it depends who does it. I guess probably around 70. This is a Mokuankan publication. It's a project that I sort of selected and I'm doing all the work on, and I'll be really involved in the printing this time as well. But Mokuankan's paying for this, and I'm doing it on Mokuankan time. Which one? Let's do the skin. Yeah, let's do the skin. Let's get rid of the hair. It's kind of tricky to see, right? Maybe I'll save that for after. I think for this one I want to boost the contrast in the colors so I can see the lines a little bit better. So actually we won't do that right now. We don't need any more technical issues today. Let's do the light blue. So this one is the light blue. The rain's really coming down now. So it's going to be quite hectic first couple of days, and then hopefully after that I can just sort of relax. What's going on here? Do we think 1 or 2 stripes? Yeah, see that there's a darker line here. That means tamari, I think. It could potentially be just all solid like that. But I think that dark line there probably means that's a spike. And then also there's one there. That's what we'll go with for now. Like I said, I'll come back, fix all this stuff later. I tell you what I'll do. I'll put the translation in the Discord. After I finish here, I'll hunt it down and I'll put the 3 translations into the Discord. And you can all have a read through in your own time. What are your conversations of the British Museum focused on? A big part will be Capucine San's work as like a scientist and what her opinions on the fugidity of the different pigments. Obviously, some of them, they are more fugitive and they will decolor quicker than others. We talked a little bit about this last stream. But yeah, I want to see her opinion on which ones will have, in her experience, looking at these under like, I guess she's using like mass spec and stuff like that. Maybe she's not going that far. I don't know how. I'll talk to her a bit about her, the method she uses to determine a lot of these things. But yeah, which colors will have degraded the most? Which ones? How does she think the original colors would actually look? Stuff like that. I've got a list of questions I've written down. I can check it now just to see what else I've got in there. Oh, I wanted to talk to her about if she's done any research on any other Kunioshi prints. A little bit about the Prussian Revolution. So in the well, actually quite a bit before that, 1830s is when what we call the Prussian Blue Revolution, just the Prussian Revolution. This is where you see a lot of those Eisurie, which are prints made entirely of different shades of blue, come out. I want to talk to her about any other pigments that she sort of knows that came out? We all know about the Prussian blue and it came from the Dutch and all that, but is there any other pigments, and like compared to the pigments I'm using now, it's still a traditional palette, but stuff like the yellow would probably be the old yellow, which is beautiful, but very, very toxic. So that will be a pigment that differs from my version. What other pigments will have changed? Which other ones did the Dutch introduce around that time? Other than the Prussian blue that we all know about. Ooh. Ginger Crush, welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. Is there a cat theme going on in your stream? Let me open the stream manager. Welcome in. What were you working on? Are you in making and crafting as well? How can I do this? Exclamation SO. Underscore. It's dash. Damn it. A little shout out. I got it. I'm not very good at these things, but I finally remembered the codes to do that. We're having a bunch of technical issues today. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is Taran. I am a traditional Japanese woodblock printmaker. I am working on a tracing here for a samurai print. I've already finished the main tracing portion, which is the key lines. These are all the black lines in the print. Now I'm working on deciding how the colors are supposed to work. If I pop this up and I pop that in, get rid of these colors and make it black, you can see this is the print we're working on. This will all be carved on cherry wood, probably starting towards the end of this month, when I'm going on a little trip tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next week. And then when we get back, we'll start work on this. Crocheting a dress, nice. So many details. Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time to carve this. And then I'm not sure how many colors we're gonna have so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got about 14 so far, but there may be a couple extras coming in later. I'm not quite sure. That's why I'm doing this color separation now. I've got here was the first rough, but I think I've added a couple colors into this one. I'll be meeting and doing an interview with someone at the British Museum next week on Tuesday. So I'm trying to decide on some more questions that I find while I'm doing this work here. Light blue. We're trying to find all these colors that have this light blue tone to them right now. Let's hide the other layers we don't need. Don't need brown. If you want to share some work, it's okay to post links in here. Please feel free to share either the stuff you're working on now or some other work you're proud of in the past. I went to a museum today and got to see some samurai armor from Japan from the early 1800s. Nice. What museum was that? It's cool stuff. Particularly the later periods where they're not going to war anymore in them. They're only for like ceremonial purposes. The headdresses get really, really extravagant. I guess the 1800s, that would be that period, isn't it? Our local children's museum. Yeah, samurai armor is very cool. I guess this should be green all the way along. This is the type of mistakes I'm talking about. This is a mistake. We found another mistake. So the dark green here, it's coming everywhere. We've got this rope tied around his waist. I don't know if this is an obi. Why is it all wrapped like that? I guess you'd still call it an obi. It's holding his swords in here. The rope is going across, and then there's a green bit of armor poking through here, and it comes round over here, but it stops. Why is that not showing? It stops here, but I'm almost certain that it should go right to the end. So what do you think on things like that? Do we fix, or do we make a faithful reproduction? I think that should be fixed, personally. Is there something I'm not understanding here? No, that's just a mistake. Swoops around. Definitely a mistake. So we'll add that in. I'll probably get a bunch of emails now. I can't believe you fixed that. You're changing the design. I think it's okay. I'm half joking, but actually that's like a real thing. Some people won't like that I just did that there. It's not the final thing. I'll make decisions later, but I think on things like that, I will actually fix that. Because there's a few registration issues on some of these colors, that might be because the shape of it, actually, if you look at it, if I get rid of the key lines, zoom in real close, yeah, let me just get a blank. You can see the shape of it here. It comes up and then it goes down. So that actually should fit in there. There's a good chance that it's just misregistered. Yeah, a few misregistration sticking over. Perhaps this should come to the end now. Yeah, it's coming over into the yellow here. And there's a slight gap. I think they've struggled a bit with the registration on this. See, it's poking out on this side, consistent with our hypothesis that it's not just registered well enough. This is poking into the sword. So we will move that over like that. Emails, no doubt, from the same people who found Chiri in some of the prints using their microscopes. Put the nail in his own coffin on that one, you know. We like these people, you know. They care a lot. But there's levels. You've got to draw your lines somewhere. Let's get rid of that dark green. What was it? Light blue. Sorry to spin it so much. You're probably all getting motion sickness. Now that one there, is that the same color? No. What's going on there, gang? So we have a darker tone here, like this. And then there's the lighter tone at the top there. This looks like it's a different color to this here. I guess this is the light color, the same one that's over here. Turn the color up so you can see it easier. This is the same color, this one and this one. And then the light blue that I'm working on now, that's coming this way. Smooth that out a bit. I think that's on the light blue as well. And then we've got a blue-grey down the bottom here. Oh yeah, I've got that. But it does seem that perhaps the blue-grey is going over here, but I'm thinking that's just misregistration. Got the light blue-grey up there. If I don't post the translation to the kanji in the... Please someone remind me. I'll try and remember. A lot of things going on in the background though today. I think we're looking good. And then we've got to sort of make decisions on these ones. This one's clearly that blue. I need the key lines in again. This one is this one. This one too. Have I got that on the light grey? No. This one. It's a little bit difficult for you guys to see what I'm actually flicking through the different layers. You have to pay very... Can you even see the... No, this eye symbol is not visible. I can move the screen across. No, I'll leave it like that. This is that blue for sure. That's all those blues there covered. Got one here. One here. Well, that could be the teal that... Oh no. They don't use the teals in these ones. That one. After looking at the colours like for a while, I feel like I'm starting to get a bit of colour blind. Yeah, to take a break. But yeah, feel free to pop out. You don't have to wait around. Yesterday, when I finished doing this, I was kind of exhausted. You know, you're just sitting down all day doing this, but it's actually quite taxing on the brain when you're making decisions or like focusing your eyes. Just blocking stuff in, let's just get through it. But when there's a lot of decisions and you're trying to figure out, we haven't done many of that decision making stuff. These have all been pretty straightforward today. You can see here again that misregistration of the black. I fixed it. Fill that in. This is a light grey. This isn't a blue. Just switching to the other one to fill that in. This is blue. And this is a blue. Let's do something a bit more interesting. Okay, the sword. That is this same colour. This light blue, is it not? Maybe. We can check with the inker. Yeah, I think we're looking at the same colour here. It's good to check though. Does contemporary Japanese society have a positive image of samurai? Yeah, I think so. Well, they like they're not as popular. Ninja are more of a thing nowadays. Kids all want to dress as ninjas for Halloween and stuff. I guess that's probably there was like a Legos thing with Ninja recently as well, wasn't there? I say recent. I remember maybe quite a while ago actually. But Ninja are more of a thing now than Samurai. But I think it's still a positive. Yeah, let's just put this down. And along this sword, we have what's called itabokashi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow along this ruffled edge. Like this. This is ruffled. This edge here on Japanese swords is called the hamon, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's called a hamon. That wavy pattern you get along the edge. The way they get this is they add clay. This is also the reason that the samurai sword is curved. They add clay in a pattern, and some of these patterns on the hamons can become really complicated. And it's sort of a signature for a sword maker as well. Some sword makers have a very particular way they do their hamons. They use like a little stick and they add wet clay. And I think they use a specific type of clay as well. That's another one of those secrets of the craftsman, you know. The mixture of clay, what layer of sediment they're getting it from and stuff. Temper pattern of a sword blade. Yeah, cool. I was right. And so the way they've chosen to do it in this, whether it was Kuniyoshi or it was the publisher, probably the publisher, is they've added itabokashi, which is block gradation in English. And you do this by rounding over the edge of the carved area. You first carve it wide, and I'll show you how I'm going to represent that here. And we just fill this all in. Bucket. Hopefully that doesn't cover the whole page. We've got a hole. Nailed it. Cool. Will it have the bling or won't change colours? What are we talking about? I'm not sure I quite remember. The sword. Ah, mica. No. It'll just be blue like this. No mica. So this is how I represent. Yeah, I might not actually have to do it with this one. I'm going to add a second line here, stepping about 0.5 mil to 1 mil off, following that pattern. It's kind of tricky because the edge of the blade is like sort of right where I want to be drawing this line. And actually the gradation gets quite big at the bottom. I think it's gradated more. And I'm just going to take a ruler and make that dash, an eraser and make that dash line. So this will be where I'll actually cut my knife first. And then I'll take my flat bullnose chisels. I'll cut back to the first edge we drew, the edge here that's solid. And then I'll take some sandpaper, or you can even use a soldering iron as like a heating element, and you can sort of burn the edge. On this one, it's not that wide of a itabokashi. If you want a more wide one, or you want like really rough texture, you can sort of take a soldering iron and burn the edge a little bit. And the charring gives it really quite uneven. The way I'm going to be doing it with sandpaper, you get quite an even gradation on the edge of the block, but the charring is a bit more unpredictable and you get deeper valleys and stuff. So that's another way to do it if you want really, really strong gradation. Do you plan to do the black lacquer printing, Rishi? Printing? Do you mean shomenzuri? Urishi is where you use the lacquer on like bowls and stuff. You do layers and layers of lacquer. In woodblock prints, we call it shomenzuri, I think is what you're talking about. When it looks lacquered, it's got like a glossy face to it. And this print doesn't actually have any of that because it's like gunmetal is what they have here in this print. It's not shiny metal, it's more like a matte finish on the steel. So they haven't done any shomenzuri. And the other blacks is shomenzuri, yeah, that's right. On the shoes. The other stuff is fabric here. I don't think they've used silk, so it wouldn't be shomenzuri. There's no shomenzuri on the shoes now. There's no shomenzuri in this print. If we look. What I'll do is when I go to the British Museum, I can hold the print up and have a little flick, but I'm almost certain that there's no shomenzuri in this print. But I think actually it would look kind of nice. Maybe a bit too flashy. Do you know what sucks as well? I think perhaps some of the cold, flu-y symptoms from Dave has been passed on to our family just before we go on our trip, which is really awful, the timing of it. My throat's feeling a little bit today. Maybe you can hear it in my voice. And my son's nose started running last night. Really awful. I know, working with Dave all day, sitting next to him in tight quarters. I think the trip's going to be lots of water with electrolytes. Interesting. To prevent a fever or a flu symptoms. But I think drinking water is probably good advice for most things. Got my leg blown off. Drink some water. You'll heal nicely. It's not going to do any harm anyway. Okay, let me ask you this question. We don't have Bakari sweat. I've lost my arm. Here's a question for y'all. I was talking about the browns earlier. I was playing around, taking the actual colour. This brown here. This brown here, I'm basically certain that this is on plain white paper. So the only colour we're getting here, other than the brown pigment, is that of the toning of the paper. So there's that. And I want to see how it's going to look on some different colours. If I show you the brown first, it's on the branches here. On the branches here, we can see that it has that light blue-grey undertone on all the branches. So I was saying that this print actually has a surprising amount of layering. Like if this is a typical just bang it out ukiyo-e print, this would be just a single brown on this. But even all these branches here, they have two colours on them. The leaves here have two colours, the petals have two colours. It's really, they've thrown everything at it, but occasionally you can see these light blues coming underneath. So this is the light blue and the brown mixed together. Screen's frozen again. Oh, come on, as soon as I start explaining something interesting. Maybe it's the cable. I haven't touched it. I don't think so. It's the computer that's freezing, I think. Because I've got it open, I'm playing it through QuickTime, and then that's getting sent in. I'm doing an application capture. And the QuickTime is working fine, but it's the OBS that keeps freezing. Anyway, you can see here that we have light blue. Let me just switch this. There's a light blue underneath here. You can see because it's misregistered a little bit and sticking outside. And then we have the brown on top. So this colour here is a mixture of light blue and brown. So we've got that. And then it'll also be the light blue under it. And I was taking just this raw colour. I'm pretty sure that coming from here alone, this is just the tone of the pigment and the toning of the paper. So if I turn this, if I take a separate layer and I make it multiply, this is sort of the way I like to test them. And I put this down to, let's say 70%. Somewhere around there, that'll work. Sort of like the same opacity as this brown. And I put this next to the branch. Put some brown down there. Let's make this bigger. Put some brown down there. I do a new layer. I take the light blue, which is just paper tone. Ah, no, there's not. That's not just paper tone. I need to take the light blue from somewhere else. Okay, this is only light blue. Put this layer to 70 as well. And layer that underneath. Put the brown on top and put it with multiply. It's multiplying the color of the paper. Let me just get the white background on. Then I can sample this color here. I'm thinking that that's pretty much exactly the color of the branch. What on earth has happened? If I take a new color, new layer, I draw this next to the branch, it's come out quite grey. Why is that? Come on. I think that's probably quite close. It had been frozen for a while. Sorry about the freezing. Anyway, so we got this brown here. I think that's pretty good. So it means that this brown I sampled here is 70 is about right. And if I put that on a yellow, on this one, it comes out really similar to this. Branch is more bluish grey, yeah. It does have... The reason for that actually is if I change this to a normal layer, the bluish grey colour here was interacting with... It's frozen. The bluish grey was interacting, multiplying the colour from the background. So if I take that now, it's got more of a bluish grey hue to it. I think that's probably closer there. Yeah. Anyway, this is a known element, and that's pretty good. I'm happy with, I've got that right color, the right opacity and stuff. If I then take that over and stick it on the yellow, it's actually coming out to be really, really similar to that. Which makes me think that this brown that's on the branches is also the same brown that's on the yellow. And also the same brown that's on the legs. But that is, just looking at those three colours, we've got that colour on the legs and on the branch. It's a real big difference. And there is also a section here where the branch is interacting with this. It could be the same brown, you know, just all over. My thinking now is that this whole pattern here is the same brown that's on the branches and on the legs. Yeah, remember this brown here has a yellow backing to it, and the brown on the branch has a blue backing to it. Like the blue-grey. So it's quite possible that the brown comes in just covering all of this. Return to Earth, thank you so much. Arigato. Let me throw one of these in there.
とてもサンキュー。
ありがとう。The texture of that brown. I'm not sure what you mean by texture. Yeah, it's gonna, if I was to separate it for the printers, it would be much easier. They could play around with the different levels much easier. But I am leaning towards the fact that that is the same colour here. And that the differences are just coming from the different colours they have underneath them. So that one colour with the different backings. We have a good tester actually. If I take that off. So this is, it's all the same. This foot here is the same brown, but it has the grey undertone as well. So this brown and the branch brown should be the same, because they're the same undertones. The blue comes up here, but it doesn't go underneath this brown. So this brown and the brown here should be the same. Do we think they're the same? How can I make this visible for both of you? This brown here and the brown on the leg here. Are they the same? It's a quick way to find out. Ooh. Find the median. It's quite a bit more browny. That could be a mixture of the purpley brown as well though. Thank you for the relaxed, chilled streams. Relaxed is what you call it. I call it probably quite boring these last couple of streams. We have good streams and we have chilled streams. This is a chilled one, I think. でもありがとう. I think for the sake of the printers, I will separate them. I think this probably has the pink underneath it. That's what's making it that extra brownie. The pink from here could be coming down into here and creating that. That would give the brown a bit more of a reddish hue. But when doing stuff like that, you're really... Like, if I'm wrong with that, the printers will never forgive me. But it just means I'll have to cut it away and then make a new block. So many different shades of tones of brown here. Are the lines along the edge of the branch... Are the lines along the edge of the branch you're doing... Or is that the scan? Did the original render have a keyline on the branches? Yeah, there is a keyline on the branches. The red is my keylines. So if I remove the keylines, you can see. Registration is going to be tough for these prints, you know. They got to be on the ball on this one. They got to print it so carefully as well, especially these hairlines. I don't think I want to go into the unintentional ASMR scene. I'd like to make streams that are interesting. I don't think I've got the voice for it either, you know. Maybe I could just do ASMR streams when my voice gets a bit croaky because I'm getting a cold or something. So what's left to do? Let's just do a quick rundown. I'm going to fill in some of these other colours. Decide this mint one is pretty simple. That's going to go underneath all of these leaves everywhere. And there are some of these dots. No, they're not mint. Where else will the mint go? That's it. The mint is just for the leaves. Interesting. Could be a backing on the darker green, you know. No, because that has a blue as a backing. They don't need that. Both the leaves colours, they're separate, just on their own. 2 blocks for that. This is an expensive print, you know. The dark browns are very close in value in my editor. The dark browns, which dark browns are you talking about? The one on the yellow and the one in the branches. This is our base. This is what we know the colour is. And then when we mix it with blue, this is a known element, it becomes this colour. And then when we mix it with yellow, does it become this colour? They're really quite different, you know. Come on, everything's so slow. Take that over there. Oh, the one on the leg you're talking about. Yeah, I have them on the same block for now. I think when I tested them side by side like this, they were kind of similar. So I came in probably around here. Then I came over, well, it would have been that first colour. Let's do that again. Take the leg colour. Which one's nice and smooth? Go there and come over to the known element. Yeah, they're exactly the same. So they're definitely the same block, which means that they're on the same block as the branch. The only question is the one that's on top of the yellow here. I think it is, you know. But that's crazy how much variation you can get just by changing the backing color, right? The feet, the legs, the branches, the sash, and on the armor, the yellow armor here at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They appear as 5 different colors. Very efficient. It's a very good design, actually. I like this print a lot. The more I do it, the more I like it, you know. Do you know what? I think we'll end it there today. Let me just get rid of these colors for a bit and put the black back on. Let's take a look at the key block. My thinking is, unless I have, well, I don't think I'll be doing any of the touching up. There will inevitably be some touching up to do after I see the original print. I'm going to go through, I'm going to take a print out of this, print out of the color separation as well, and my iPad. I'm going to sit there with the print side by side, and I'm going to mark on this print all the areas that are like really need touching up. I'm going to take really close up high resolution images of everything, and I'm then going to mosaic them in, put them at the back so I can have an even better resolution image. Take my macro lens so I can get really up close and see some of these colors. Have a look at that brown. I'll do some touching up off stream of the key block, which will take a little while, I'm guessing. And then after I'm happy with the key block, I don't need to finish all the colors straight away. But after I'm happy with the key block, I will be pasting this. I've got some more ice ski work to do on the last Adolescente print. Yeah, I will be back on the 22nd. So I think the next stream I said will be on the 26th. 26th. I'll put a note in the Discord. We'll be back on the 26th. I'm really quite excited about this trip. I need a little bit of a break. It's been a bit of a long slog. We're having fun though. We're having fun. Slog is a really kind of negative way of putting it. I'm having fun. Enjoy the trip. I will. Hopefully traveling with a 1-year-old is not too difficult. And hopefully we're not all really sick and get quarantined or something. That would ruin everything. Send us the file, please. Get this figured out. Zinc. Start talking zinc right now. Start taking zinc. Yeah, good idea. I think I will take some cold medicine as well, just in case. I think I'm not too bad, but Tuka's definitely got something. Alright, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging around. Bit of an extra long stream for you today. Not really, is it? What time did I start? 9:30. You got a bit of an extra. It's saying it's shorter because we lost half the stream. I'm going to have to edit these streams together to put them on the archive. Mindokusai. Ja, arigato. Bye bye. Bye bye bye. Have a nice September. Peace.